So there's been a lot of talk about Spinosaurids recently. More specifically, there's been a lot of talk about Suchomimus. I'm sure you've heard the news, but there was a paper published that has a little section that proposes the idea that Suchomimus is simply just a junior synonym of Cristatosaurus. And obviously everybody is losing their mind. Now, I've already made some videos about this, some short form videos, but as I was making those videos, I was preparing for a trip, so I didn't get to go into as much detail as I would, initially like to prefer. And as a result, I think that the videos were a little bit lacking. Like, I definitely think that I could have provided a little bit more information about this whole thing in general, so that there wasn't as much confusion as there seems to be. And for that reason, I do apologize. I definitely need to make sure that I'm providing the proper details that I need to be providing. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be talking about this whole thing in a little bit more depth right here and kind of clear up some things that some people might be confused about. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the paper in general, because the paper is really interesting. The paper, the full paper really doesn't have much to do with Suchomimus. Rather, the paper is looking at the neurovascular systems of Spinosaurids, as in, like, those little pressure sensors that at the tip of their snout. In the past, it's been proposed that Spinosaurids had decently sensitive snouts, something that could pick up, like, little vibrations in the water, as in, like, fish moving through the water so that they can snap at them and grab them before they ever even saw them. Now, that idea has only ever been proposed. It's never officially been tested. That's one of the reasons why this paper is so interesting. They looked at a couple different Spinosaurid snouts, both Cristatosaurus and Spinosaurus, and ultimately they determined that Spinosaurids did seem to have pretty sensitive snouts. So it is very much possible that they would utilize them in their hunting strategy. Now, the paper also mentions that it's likely that Spinosaurids would stand on the bank and just kind of like dip their snouts into the water to snatch up any fish that way, rather than being creatures that were fully submerged. Because having pressure sensors like this do not necessarily hint at a fully aquatic lifestyle, as there's terrestrial animals that have very sensitive snouts and of course don't live in the water. So, like I said, it's a very cool study that really offers a lot of insight about the Spinosaurid family as a whole, and I can't wait until they can do more work on it so that we can determine, first of all, how widespread this is, and how exactly Spinosaurids would use those pressure sensors. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there was a little section that brings up Suchomimus. Cristatosaurus was used in the study, which is an incredibly fragmentary Spinosaurid, a controversial one at that. It's not a very well-known Spinosaurid, and like I just mentioned, it is incredibly controversial. Now, this paper noticed that there seems to be a little bit of overlap with Cristatosaurus and Suchomimus, and so it proposed the idea that Cristatosaurus and Suchomimus are simply just synonymous, as in they are one and the same animal, and Cristatosaurus might simply just represent a younger individual. And so what that would basically mean, if that were to be accepted, is that there would have to be, only one name chosen, like one official name anyway. And the way that taxonomic naming conventions work is that whoever's named first gets the rights to the name. And in this case, Cristatosaurus was named about 2 or so months before Suchomimus. So that means if they became synonymous with each other, Cristatosaurus would keep the name, and therefore all of the Suchomimus specimens would be assigned to Cristatosaurus. Now, I mentioned in a follow-up video that this is definitely not set in stone, and it's more so just a hypothesis. It just brought it up and said that it's something that we really need to take a closer look at to determine. It could really go either way in the future, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cristatosaurus fossils that we have really do belong to, a younger Suchomimus. But one of the biggest problems is that Cristatosaurus is incredibly fragmentary, and there's really not a lot to go off of. We can't compare enough of the material to determine if they are one and the same. And so ultimately, this is likely not going to be tested any further, which means that, Suchomimus, the name Suchomimus is likely going to stick around for this Spinosaurid right here, this handsome fella. Now, there is still a chance that sometime in the future, Suchomimus will become Cristatosaurus. Things like that happen in paleontology all the time. It's just the result of us finding more fossils, learning new things, and just, putting together new pieces of evidence. That's just paleontology in a nutshell. It has happened to many different animals in the past. But as of right now, it's mainly just a proposal, something that needs to be looked at for us to determine if it's true or not. Suchomimus still remains. The name Suchomimus is still very much here. And yeah, I bring that up because most people are upset about the idea that we wouldn't be able to use the name Suchomimus anymore, which I think is a little bit silly. I mean, I understand that Suchomimus it's a very cool name. I agree. It's a very fitting name for a Spinosaurid, translating to crocodile mimic. I get that. But if in the future we find out that it's simply synonymous with Cristatosaurus, well, that's just how it is. And at the end of the day, it would simply just be a name change. The animal itself probably wouldn't really change too much. This creature would still exist. The Suchomimus that you know and love would still exist. And, I think a lot of people mainly just like Suchomimus because of the name, which is just look at Suchomimus. Suchomimus is a very cool Spinosaurid. It was huge. It was a big Spinosaurid. It had a very elongated and extremely thin snout. All kinds of really cool looking teeth, huge arms, a good portion of the arms was discovered, with 3 huge claws on each hand. Suchomimus is a cool dinosaur in and of itself, and it would remain cool if its name was changed to Cristatosaurus. In my opinion, nothing would really change about it. And again, that's mostly what people are latching onto. And I think it really highlights the whole fandomification, I guess, is what some people are calling it, of paleontology. You know what I'm talking about. The whole Spinosaurus was nerfed thing. This all kind of links into that, where it's more people they like the sounds of certain dinosaur names more so than they like the actual dinosaur. Because personally, if Suchomimus' name was changed to Cristatosaurus, my enjoyment of Suchomimus would not change at all. It's still a very cool Spinosaurid, even if we have to call it Cristatosaurus. To reiterate, that's not what's happening here. It's just a hypothesis. We don't know where this is going to go in the future, and as I mentioned earlier, it is pretty unlikely that Suchomimus will become synonymized with Cristatosaurus. There's simply just not enough fossils to do anything substantial with them. I once again apologize for not providing as many details as I should have. It's also true that I was mainly focused on the neurovascular stuff in that paper because that was the main focus of the paper. That's why the short video was half about the neurovascular things and half about Suchomimus, because I was just, the pressure sensor things is something that I find really interesting. It's something that I first learned about in Planet Dinosaur, and ever since then, it's just been a really cool thing that I've kept tucked away in my brain. So to have more details about something like that, I thought that was just really cool because, we're learning more about a very mysterious group of dinosaurs. We're getting a little bit more, we're getting a little bit closer to determining how they lived their lives and how they would catch their food. And that sort of thing is just really cool to me. And so I didn't really provide as many details about Suchomimus as, again, I probably should have. And once again, I do apologize for that. But again, that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and have an awesome day.